You are live. We are live, and we are moving right now on the Fotokite webinar. We're going to be learning a little bit about this and kind of showing a little bit more about what this is capable of, design and ideas. We have Craig from Fotokite who's going to be joining us, and we're going to give him kind of a harsh introduction, if you will. So, Craig, I'm going to try not to hash up your name here, but it's Craig Markinkowski. Markinkowski. It was such a big word that we couldn't, big last name that we couldn't put the whole thing as introducing you. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what you do and part of your role in the company, and as well as maybe just a brief history of this design and kind of this idea.
Great, thanks, John. I'm in Syracuse, New York. One of our offices here in the U.S. We do sales, product support, and everything here out of this office. We have a mechanical engineering office in Boulder, and we're headquartered in Zurich. We've been working specifically on tethered aircraft systems for close to a decade now. And we're really excited to be working with you guys on Fotokite. It's been designed from the ground up for public safety mission. And I know you'll get into a little bit as well, but we call it a kite versus a drone, because it's really a system that flies itself. And it's something that we're looking for public safety to begin to be able to make part of everyday operations.
Awesome. So overall, just jumping over to this actual design, again, you probably gave a pretty good overview of it, but what makes this special, Craig? Why is this design special? Why is it different than any of the other tethered UAVs out there, and what does it mean as far as this design?
Absolutely. So the system's been designed only to be tethered. A lot of tethered systems maybe on the market are optionally tethered or not tethered all the time. And one of the unique things we're doing technology-wise is we have an active tether. And all that means is there's tension on the tether at all times. That allows us to fly GPS without GPS dependencies. And it allowed us to get some very special exemptions for the FAA that let us be, like I mentioned, become part of everyday operations. A Part 107 pilot's license is not required for this system, partly because of the active tethering and the very simple ease of operation that you're going to show the group today. One button launch and land, system literally flies itself. I think the other unique things about this, it's designed from the ground up for public safety. A lot of the other tethered systems on the market have a more military heritage, and this one was designed specifically for firefighting, police, security types of applications. Really, public safety is the mission and goal of Fotokite, and making situational awareness part of every scene easily for any operator.
Absolutely excellent. I'm pretty excited about this overall design because it does take a little bit of this traditional RC and having to fly, just like you had mentioned, a simple tablet to actually operate it. So taking this simplified design, putting it on any type of mobile portion, powering it, getting it up in the air, thermal camera, RGB camera with a zoom, and then being able to kind of just move around and pan around anywhere we go. I'm pretty excited about it. We're going to show a quick demonstration and fly this up in the air, and anything else that you wanted to add as far as 107 compliance and well as just regulation operation. I mean, we do recommend overall to possibly have some understanding of the airspace, understanding of where you're going to fly. In fact, today we have a power pole that's going to be fairly close to us, so we have to be very cautious of where we just set this up, that we're not just putting it up in the air. So anything else you wanted to add as far as maybe some complexity of operation, if there is any?
Absolutely, and one of the reasons we're partnered with RMUS is the great training history and heritage you have with users you work with. We still recommend training on the system, but it's pretty limited, as the group will see here, based on a very limited number of interactions that are needed. Launch, set your height, land. You want to be mindful of where you're setting up. Obviously, you don't want to be right next to a building or a power line. You want to give yourself at least 20 feet of clearance. So there's basic rules of the road there. But from an FAA compliance standpoint, if you're a public safety officer, a Part 107 or certificate of authorization is not required to fly this. And we think that's really game changing because, there's a small percentage of pilots right now in public safety that have that FAA pilot's license. So they're the only ones right now who can operate an aircraft. And now there's this much larger segment of public safety that does not have an FAA pilot's license, and Fotokite is an option for them. Once again, getting back to something that can be used daily on potentially every call.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. So as far as ease of use, compliance, moving forward to what we can actually use it for, specialized use cases, picking it up, moving it to a different location, very, very simple. And again, I really applaud the engineers and everyone else behind actually how this has turned out and the again, ease of use when understanding how to operate this. So let's go ahead and take a minute to do this. We'll head outside. We'll turn it back over to Jace real quick. I'm sure we might already have some questions. I'm not sure. But let's just go ahead and turn it over to Jace. We'll go ahead and get everything set up outside and get a thumbs up to do an actual live demonstration of this. So first we'll show basically taking off, simply landing and seeing what that looks like from a different camera perspective. Then we'll switch over to the UI and give you a feed of what we're actually seeing and what I'm seeing and the controls on there. So hopefully that goes nice and clean. And then we'll come back inside and do a bit more discussion with Craig and answer questions as much as we can as far as that operation. So let's hand that back over to you, Jace, and see if we've got any questions that people need to know. So.
Okay, so we're just we're gonna kill that audio right there. All right, so we don't have a lot of traffic yet as far as questions and stuff like that goes, but I just want to tell you that we're
I'll let you hold on to that.
very
I'm just gonna
excited
give it a
about
quick
this system. It's a platform that we've been looking into and been very excited about for quite a while. So we're really very impressed so far with what we've had, our experience with it, and everything as far as that goes. So and like I say, everybody participate. I think we probably have some questions on Facebook or on YouTube where you can view this as well. But I can't keep track of all these things and switch the show all at the same time. So we'll get to some more. We'll get some questions in the Q&A section. But we're ready to go outside. So I'm going to throw it over to John, and we'll get this live stream or we'll get this demo in the air for you guys.
Okay, a quick confirmation that Jace has switched over the camera feed. Are we good to go there, JT? We're good to go on a camera feed. Everybody can hear. Okay, excellent. So it's really a pretty basic setup here as far as the mobile version. It does come in a hard Pelican case, a hardened case, if you will. Once you take the cover off, we're already kind of powered. We have a connection to the actual tablet that's going to run this. Very simple. So again, once it's unlatched, and just for the show here, we went ahead and did have the power plugged in, but even after plugging in, it only takes a couple of minutes to actually get this ready to be able to fly. We're then Wi-Fi connecting, so the tablet can't be too far away as far as operation here on this mobile side of the mobile version. But once it's pretty much ready to go, connected, and we have a ready to go takeoff. I'm just opening up the props here so it doesn't shake the machine too badly. But once it's ready to go, it's pretty much a single push button operation. So let's just watch this from the camera. She'll raise to a height. And hold that position. And here I can make sure my camera is operating correctly. I can make sure that the Wi-Fi is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Just doing this. We can go ahead and make sure that that's all working, and then I can just raise to a simple altitude of around 20 feet, and let's just watch that go. And then at a height of 20 feet, I can go up to 150 feet. So once we go up to 150 feet, if we needed to, that's a height that we can consider, but just because we're pretty close to the power lines here, we want to watch that. But then it's a simple push button for the land, and we'll just watch that happen here. And it lands right back onto that box. So as far as that operation of how it would then tether or go or do anything like that, pretty simple. And again, when you're ready to close it all back up, basically we're just doing a close the props up, make sure that they don't conflict with then taking the box top and putting it back on top. So this operation, very, very simple. We're just plugged into AC here, right into the building, but we're pulling around 700 watts here. So if any generator or anything like that is actually connected to this, we've got to remember that, yeah, you could pull a lot of energy while actually doing this. The one other thing about it, it's undefined how long this can fly. It's undetermined. We just barely got the unit. So as far as testing goes, we'd love to be able to just let it sit and run for at least a 24 hours of just running, just to see and test that portion. We've got a high voltage amount coming up to the top of the line for something else you don't want to touch or grab onto when it's operating. But overall, again, a very simple design, easy operation. So from there, let's go ahead and see if we can take a look at the UI. So again, we have an altitude change up here around 60 feet, and we can move that up and down. And then just by simply touching on the screen, if I double tap, I can move to a new position. And additionally, I have a little arrow up here on the top right that I can touch and slide and touch real quick, and then by just a couple taps, I can see that what direction I'm facing, north, northeast, south. So I'm going to just go a little bit more to the south so we can kind of show a little bit of the zoom. Okay, so on the zoom camera, it's a digital zoom. It's kind of a pinch. We just pinch and open like this. So if we want to look at something specifically over here, and I just want to pinch a little bit, open it up and then pinch it to close for the zooming. Not a very complicated system right there. And then right here I've got my FLIR camera, so I can just click onto the FLIR camera, make that a little bit bigger. It then minimizes the RGB camera, and again I can tap and move anywhere I want to on the FLIR camera. I can also direct it here with the little arrow on whatever direction I want to go there too. So what's really cool is over on this left side is I've got a record button. So I can start recording right now. And as it starts recording, I also have a backtrack, a slider in which allows me to slide back an amount of that recorded video. I can take a screenshot on the left side. So it'll then capture that as a screenshot of whatever's going on. And if I just go a little bit further, I'm going to keep sliding to the right. And we'll just put it over the top of this building basically. So if we just keep going to the right, and we want to see this building a little bit further, right next to our parking lot here. Now I can get some situational awareness around this building and around it. So again, I'm only at an altitude of 60 feet. One thing to consider, as Craig had mentioned, is where the line is going to go. If we have any wind and issues with wind, that the line doesn't blow and hit anything or touch anything. So I'm not going to get too high in showing this capability. But let's jump back over to the RGB camera. And like I said, it's a fairly simple operation. If we come over here and look straight down at where we are, you see us here in this corner where the Fotokite is our building. We can see the AC unit right there. So it's really cool. I mean, very simple, very easy. If I want to again adjust my altitude, I'm just going to move this ascending or descending the altitude. So let's just bring it down to 35 feet. It's an immediate response to come down. And what I had found that kind of works a little bit nice is that when I'm ready to land, I'm just going to bring the camera up so it's a little bit flatter the horizon. I'm going to go ahead and hit land, just so that the camera isn't pointing down. You can see all this stuff going on the FLIR camera. Once it straightens out, we can then see it landing and coming into land. And again, I just put the camera up so it's not going to impede with its landing and be faced straight down. So I'm going to jump back inside and we'll take a little bit closer look at this as far as the actual components, talk to Craig a little bit more about some questions, but I mean, if there's anything not less complex than that right there, I don't know. So let's just jump back over to Jace here and see if we've got any more questions as we move the components and pieces back inside.
But yeah, I mean, obviously that's one of the things that we really like about this system. It's the ease of use, the operation, that it's right up in your face. It's exactly where you want it to be, where you would expect stuff to be. You don't. It seems like when we're flying this, we're not searching for things. We're not trying to find where is this, where is that. It's a very straightforward UI, but also very functional and very usable. So yeah, Craig, so far we've been big fans of this system and the way that it's integrated. We've really been appreciating that quite a bit. So a couple things, some of the other questions, I think we were able to provide that field of view on the RGB and thermal cameras. Now, unless you want a specific number like a width and that kind of stuff, I don't know that off the top of my head. But I think you were hopefully probably able to get a pretty good idea of the field of view, the width of the view, and kind of the quality of the sensors while you're able to do that. Again, can you demonstrate the zoomability? Hope you're able to see that. Wired Ethernet, Craig spoke to that. So, John, if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Let's pop in. All right.
Hopefully that went okay there, Craig, as far as a simple demonstration. Anything that you wanted to talk about there? We've just brought the system back inside. We can talk a little bit about some of the components and parts and pieces, but anything you wanted to add in that quick demonstration, just capability and whatnot?
I think you did a great job really showing the simple functionality, one button launch and land, set your height, simple tapping on the screen to maneuver the camera, switch over to the thermal, double tap, picture-in-picture, pinch zoom, record, backtrack features. I think you nailed it. Some other nice features, there was one button up in the top left that we didn't talk about. It basically allows you to change or transfer control between users. So you could have multiple tablets on a scene viewing, and if you wanted to hand off control, maybe you're the commander and you're leaving and you want somebody else to be able to set the fight or land, you just hit release control and they hit control on their tablet. Those up in the top left. But really, I appreciate your comments and the way that you guys covered it. It's a very simple UI. It's meant to be very intuitive. So once again, you don't need to actively pilot. It's something that you can train someone on in about 15 minutes, and they can get this thing up on a scene. Once again, why you don't need that pilot license.
Excellent. Thanks again, Craig. I mean, like I said, it really is a fairly simple operation, nothing ultimately complicated, but just you'll bear with me, Craig. I'm just going to do a quick walk around of some of this components, a little bit close-up shots of this, just a little bit, to kind of talk about some of the components here. So overall, let's just take a look at this. Fairly small propellers. We're running 6 for a hex. We traditionally know that a quad typically has a hard time, if it loses a prop, that the quad style would keep flying. So this hex design of having 6 props ready to go, just in case we've ever lost one, it's a possibility that this would maintain flight. Again, probably something Craig could elaborate a little bit more on further down the road here. But on the front of this, a very small and very powerful little gimbal with an RGB camera, as well as a thermal camera. So we've got a really good setup here. Again, stabilization the whole time you're there. So we've got a 3-axis stabilization gimbal that if it's windy, pushing around as well as trying to hold in a position, it has all that capability as well. Carbon fiber frame, so very light. I don't know much about the actual tether line, but again, something Craig can tell us a little bit more about. But this weighs, as far as the case goes, with the power system as well, not too bad, but there's a nice roller case that this comes in as far as the mobile version. Additionally, we have a tablet here that we were using out there. runs Windows, so we're connecting via a Windows app, Wi-Fi to the bird, and this connection here actually pretty simple. I mean, even after having a couple of problems that we did, we just reset the machine. We then reset the tablet, and it was pretty much easy to go from there. So nothing super complicated there. So nice, robust. I mean, I tell you, this thing is pretty robust as far as what this is. But I did want to again let Craig take a chance to go ahead and explain maybe the tether line, if you know anything about it, Craig. You know, maybe what that is, and you know, anything on the technical perspectives that you think that might be helpful in just kind of looking at this and the hex design. Now, also maybe a little bit more about the hex design.
Totally. Thanks, John. Great overview there. Yeah, you can see kind of the white base station that the kite rests on, and the tether is housed in that base station. We talked about the 6 motors, and you nailed it perfectly. If we lose a motor by chance, there's a very low probability, but if we did, we can still execute a safe 5-motor landing. We wouldn't continue to fly with 5 motors. At that point, the system would automatically initiate a landing back onto the base station, and then we would look at the system from there. So really a big safety redundancy built in to the system. On the tether side, once again, we talked about the active tethering. So there's always constant tension on the tether. One of the important things is the tensile strength and other things to ensure you could never have a flyaway or other things like that. That was important consideration when we were designing the system. We also have power going up the tether and data coming down. So, you know, really high quality video feeds because they're going down the tether into the base station, and then we can disseminate the video however we want from there. We talked about Wi-Fi, Ethernet, LTE streaming, all options and capabilities. So a lot of flexibility in how that high quality video feed is managed and accessed due to it coming down the tether. I think that's pretty unique.
Agreed. Very, very unique overall. I wanted to show one more thing on the front of this, and you know, just a little bit, is that it's just nothing more than a plug it in kind of a system right there. I mean, we just got a traditional plug that we plug this into, and I don't know if we've already answered this. I apologize if we have, but what happens if that thing loses power, drops power? What's going to happen to the ship? And again, I apologize if you guys had already answered that question, but maybe just an overall expectation from different altitudes, Craig. I mean, we definitely are going to want to test this, kind of show and test this and give it the experience of that. But again, what is the expectation when we're actually ready to go and all of a sudden we lose power, generator stops, you know, for whatever reason? What's likely going to happen? Or what is in the safe protocols of safety on this machine?
Great question, John. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, and that's a design feature redundancy that's been built into the system. We talk about the tethering and in the design of the kite not having big batteries or anything on it. But there are backup emergency batteries on the kite and in the base station specifically for this use case, if you will. So if power was pulled out or you lose your generator, if it's not reestablished within about 10 to 30 seconds, the system will automatically initiate a landing back on the base station. There's enough power on those batteries for about 2 times landing from maximum height. So the redundancies built in. If the power was pulled or if somehow the tether got severed, those backup batteries will get the system back down on the base station safely.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. So I mean, as far as anybody worried about the overall low power experience, of course, that's a big deal. I noticed that again, there's an envelope here of where the ship needs to maintain and stay. So even if it is pretty windy or anything like that, it's going to try to maintain that. And I'm going to ask this question just to ask the question: can you move the base station at any given time during the flight? You know.
Our recommendation and everything we do in training, John, is to not move the base station. So, you know, the use case, what we've had approved with the FAA and all those other things are standard setup, launch, land. If you're going to move the system and then launch again from there. That's the standard mode of operation right now. We are investigating potentially on-the-move scenarios. Our R&D team is working on that, but current configuration you just showed today, stationary operation.
Yeah, it totally makes sense to me. I mean, it is basically designed to be a tethered drone that stays still, doesn't move around, and most of the tethers on other designs, same thing, not intended to be moved with it, you know, or anything like that. So a very good setup. You know, you can have multiple of these going on, watching a parking lot, monitoring a high school parking lot, college, or anything like that as far as security goes. So I see that being a really good use case of having multiple units to do something like that. But I did want to touch on a little bit of this, Craig, is the sharing the screen. So probably the most common thing that we have in requesting any device or anything out there that we fly is that we don't just want the pilot to look at it. We want everybody to look at it. You guys seem to have solved this a bit, coming up with an idea or at least a conceptual idea of how this works. And have you been using it out in the field? What is the kind of process there that we're talking in order to just have the IC commander seeing what's going on? Maybe we've output this to something else. What are those solutions that you've come up with to try and share the feed?
Absolutely, John. We are doing that in the field today. What I mentioned, we could do Ethernet right out of the system. Some customers are doing that. We've had multiple tablets on scene, all working off of Wi-Fi. And we have a remote video streaming capability that we've been using on a demo perspective that we're releasing later this year. Once again, every system has all the hardware in it to have that functionality. So every system has an LTE modem to enable live video streaming to any remote location as long as that handshake is in place. So lots of options, and many of them are already in place in the field today, and you'll be seeing much more remote video streaming later this year.
I mean, if we haven't thought of everything, pretty much everything is there. Hopefully this all works out really great. And I see a smile on your face on this one. So let's see if we've got any questions any further from the crowd, and see if there's anything else that we can answer while we've got Craig and myself talking about this. So Jace, any other questions?
Yes, indeed, we have questions. So one of the things, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I was just letting you guys go on it, is a couple of questions about the tether itself. How many flights do you anticipate to get on a tether before it would need to be a replacement? Again, this is probably one that Craig could speak to, you know, give us an idea of what's the kind of longevity of the tether itself. And then also, what is the actual what is the actual, what's the word I'm looking for, composition, the material of the tether itself? What is it actually made out of?
So from a tether maintenance and overall system maintenance perspective, the system was designed industrial grade, high endurance, many flight hours, those types of things. Our schedule at this point that we're doing with systems in the field is almost like your regular maintenance on an oil change for a car. At 200 flight hours, we want to get eyes on the tether and eyes on the system, and then we'll reissue the next 200 flight hours from there, almost like you get the next 3,000 or 6,000 miles on your car from an oil change. The components are rated at many more hours than that, but that's right now what we're doing from a preventive maintenance standpoint, just to keep getting eyes on systems out there. The other question, on the tether composition itself, most of that's proprietary at this point, so it's very high tensile strength, very robust types of materials in the tether itself from a strength perspective. And to be getting the type of power that we have going up the tether and video coming down, we're pretty excited about what we have there, but we're not really disclosing the materials and some of the things that are happening in the tether at this time.
It would basically make sense to me not to touch the. Don't grab the tether. Don't touch the tether. That would make sense to me. So Jace, anything else?
From a safety and training perspective, yeah, we recommend do not touch the tether because you do have power running up that. And also the system one of the feedbacks is how it knows its position in space is based on the tether, and there's always that active tether tension. Now, what we've seen, and you'll see in training, if somebody bumped into the tether or if it was up in the air, it's okay. The system doesn't come down. They don't get shocked. But just from a best practice perspective, when we're training and all those other things, and what we say is don't touch the tether. It's just it's the best practice and safest thing to do. If you did, the system will be okay. You won't get shocked, but it's just best not to interfere with the tether in flight.
Questions we can answer here?
Yeah. Audio. Okay, yep, we've got a couple more here, and things that I think are probably some fairly simple, fairly straightforward ones. Is there a beacon? Is there a beacon built into the ship for night ops? If you could speak to that one.
Simply yes. There actually is a beacon up on the top. As soon as it takes off, it's flashing for night ops. That could probably be added if needed. I mean, I don't know what the actual overall regs are, but as soon as it takes off and gets above 10 feet, she is flashing in the air. How broad or bright that is, it's pretty bright when I was flying it in the shop, I can tell you that. So, but there is a beacon on the top. Yes, we do know this. Anything you wanted to add to that, Craig, on?
No, spot on, John. We're compliant with all FAA lighting requirements, so I believe it's 3 nautical miles for other aircraft to be able to spot that. And you nailed it. At 10 feet, it starts blinking, so it doesn't potentially blind a user, when it's down on the base station or just launching up. When the kite's in the air at the bottom, you can see the red and green light standard for FAA compliant lighting there as well.
So one of the things is that in development and creation, these guys have already worked with one company to kind of service the fire side, usually purchased with or whatever with the truck. With that being said, now we're moving into more of a commercial package. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. So as far as just a base mobile unit, this could be comparable to M300 type pricing. We can keep it fairly simple of again, as Jace had mentioned, sales at RMUS.com. We can get you some numbers. But as RMUS does, we're going to provide a level of training. Likely, if you don't have a generator, we're going to provide one of those. If you need extension cords, you need more tablets, you need more things like this, we're going to try to couple this and package it together. So it's kind of as a base price, again, get a hold of the sales team, but additionally, we can end up adding a number of different things here to maybe go a little bit higher than that pricing. But overall, that's probably what we're looking at. So, yeah. Jace?
Gotcha. Again, this is another one that we kind of touched on a little bit, but maximum height, and maybe speak a little bit to that operation. I mean, the maximum height, the height of the tether is 150 feet. The other kind of follow-up to that portion of the question is can you upgrade the tether to be able to fly higher? And this is something that probably Craig can help us speak to as well.
I would probably push that one right to Craig.
Let's just push that right over to Craig. I think you're going to be a better authority on that than us.
Yeah, Jace, awesome. Yeah, 150 feet is the height. It also is the height of the FAA reauthorization bill right now for first responders to be able to operate the system without a pilot's license. So we're aligned right with that. Currently, can we upgrade that or offer more? We're not doing that right now. That could be an option down the line, but standard Fotokite signal offerings right now, 150 feet, right in line with the FAA regs. And, we'd love any feedback. If there's users out there saying they need it and they want it, that would be great. We have heard some requests saying, we just want more height. We want more height. And then we ask the customer why. And then what we're getting market feedback wise is average height of users flying the system 75 to 100 feet right now out on the real world. So we think we're doing pretty well with 150 feet, but we'd love feedback on applications out there that need more than that. And we're all ears, and it's something we can absolutely consider in the future.
I think maybe the ultimate answer that we're getting at is theoretically it's possible. If there's a use case that makes sense for that, then I mean, obviously you guys are really very receptive to that type of thing, and sometimes I think maybe people underestimate how high 150 feet is. They hear 150 and they're like, but that's a ways up there.
I agree with that. Like I said, I mean, when it comes to simple overwatch and doing things, and Craig had mentioned there might be a really good optimal height for this stuff. Yeah, you might need to go a little bit further, but when you're really looking into compliance issues, these guys are already working with FAA to make sure that it's not difficult to try to operate the bird and do this from a standing point, moving locations. Those things have to be understood. So as Craig had mentioned, go ahead and give some feedback if there needs to be, but it's not as simple as just let's put a different cord in there and we can just do that. There could be some compliance issues with that. So great explanation as well, Craig, on that one.
Well, I was just going to say that was awesome, John. And just to close it out, we're very receptive. We want to hear the market feedback. And I think initially when we get a lot of those requests, they're thinking it's a nice to have, I want to fly higher. But when we really start drilling down into the use cases and the real world data, we haven't seen this overwhelming data set where it needs to be at that height. So once again, we're totally receptive and we want to hear about those use cases.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, just from our personal experience, your tech team has been very responsive in helping us put the webinar together and that kind of stuff.
Yes, thank you.
It's great. We've been very, very happy and very impressed with that. I mean, and as you can see, some of you in the chat, you can see that we have some of the individuals from Fotokite in our chat helping to answer some of these other questions. So that's one thing that we're very appreciative of, and that most people are in the drone industry is having a very receptive team that's on the ball and wants to do the best they can for what exists in the market. So we've appreciated that a lot.
Anything else as far as hot shots?
I think another kind of pertinent question is, what operating this in the field or something like that, what would be required as far as a generator size, wattage or kilowatts or whatever requirement it is to operate this in the field?
700 watts is what we're pulling through the machine. Other things to consider is, again, if you do have generator power, usually I go twice as big as that. I've got other systems that we run out there, things that we're charging, things that we're running. So if we're plugging straight directly into the, basically jumping into the overall operation, we're running again around 700 watts. More than that, an inverter that would be real close at 1,000 could be kind of a touchy thing. It could end up warming it up or heating it up, but if you're powering this straight from your van or from your truck or car, got to keep that in mind. So yeah, definitely a good question there as far as just what it needs.
One quick mod to that. Looking at our spec here right now, we're pulling about 400 max, John, and we recommend we want to go double that. So we've been telling people about a 900 watt continuous, inverter if you were off a vehicle or something along those lines.
Excellent. Good to clear it up. Because like I said, I'm always about the, go ahead.
I was going to say, I probably gave you a bad number before, so I wanted to clarify the 700 number you were using, 400.
That's okay. Like I said, I mean, if we're running between 400 and 700, give it 2,000. That's me. That's just making sure that it has enough and never has any problem trying to run. But yeah, if you're trying to basically kit out something in your truck or car or whatever and trying to bring in stuff, good to know. Jace, any other further questions here?
Yeah. Switcheroo here. One thing, and again, Craig can speak to this, is a little bit, and something else that we didn't touch on is the different types of the tablet itself. There are two tablets, unless I'm much mistaken. There's the
just
one option for the tablet. And I guess the other thing that we didn't touch on that I'd like to make a point of is that the tablet in broad daylight we've had no issue. And that's a real world concern that most people have, and it's really effective for that solution. The other thing, it does have a full size a USB 3.0 port along with power and a headphone jack. That's just some people asking about ports and stuff like that for the tablet and that kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, we didn't see an HDMI out on this particular Windows tablet, so there wasn't a hard line to come out of it. But you know, like I said, it's a pretty robust one. And I think Craig had already mentioned that the possibility of actually having a window-based system that can allow you to connect to the bird as well doesn't necessarily mean that it's got to be this one, but this is the one that we received, and I don't know. I think even JT might have a hard time breaking this one. But don't quote me on that. So, but yeah, it's pretty robust, and again, very bright, and it's just the initial components that we got. This is the one that we had received, and again, very happy with what it is right now. So, yeah.
Craig, anything else to add?
Yeah. Anything else on that, Craig? That I mean, it's just, this is what you sent me, my man. So.
Oh, okay. No, spot on. That's one of our command tablets. You mentioned or referenced HDMI. We have a USB-C which you can adapt with HDMI. We also have a dock that's available. So maybe if you want to just set it up in a dock that has HDMI outputs as well. So there's lots of flexibility here. If we understand how the end user wants to use it, where they want the video, how they want it potentially streamed, there's absolutely a way to, I think, satisfy pretty much any use case we've encountered so far. And we'd love feedback. If there's something that we're not satisfying right now, we'll find a way to make sure you can get it. You got to be able to get that video feed where you want it real time. That's the ultimate goal.
Well, I think we've got pretty much all the questions answered. Well, as far as much as we possibly can. I'm sure we'll have a lot further down the road and capabilities and possibilities and how to use it. Again, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining this webinar. We're going to go ahead and wrap up as far as what we've talked about, the Fotokite and capable. I mean, just overall, like what can we do with it, what we're going to do with it. My primary job here at RMUS is definitely testing, running, checking. Unfortunately, Craig, sometimes I break stuff just to make sure that any technical issues that might come up, we can then give that feedback to even you guys. And again, I heard it at least 5 or 6 times. You guys are wanting to know about that. I know you've got a great team of engineers that are wanting to put a good product out there and as well help the industry moving forward and using this product. And like I said, we'll just a couple last words from you, Craig, and then we'll just go ahead and close up our webinar here. So again, I really appreciate that. And Craig, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, that was awesome. We're really committed to public safety. That's our mission. Seeing situational awareness on every call. System needs to be incredibly reliable. We've got an amazing Swiss robotics team working daily on continuing to improve the system. We've got a team here in the U.S. ready to support, and you know, we're really excited to be partnered with you guys. The incredible training and other things that you offer, and you know, we're really excited to get these systems out there in end users' hands. You know, giving them the situational awareness they need on calls immediately.
Excellent. I really appreciate your participation today. I know we had a couple of stumbles today, but again, I really appreciate the time that you've given us, and as well as getting this system set up for everybody to again enjoy another webinar done by RMUS, as well as my whole team, making sure that you guys get the best information and being able to actually interact with us during these times. So if you're again watching this video later, or you go ahead and tell your teams that, hey, maybe the Fotokite might be for us. Let's go, just watch this webinar, and hopefully that helps out with everybody. And again, I wanted to say thank you to Craig and his team for coming together for us and showing this. And if there's anything else that we needed, sales@rmus.com. Get a hold of us here, and we have an update next week. Do we not? Do we have another one right after this one that we're talking about? Or, I mean, I know we've got a lot of them. So again, we put a lot of information out there. We want to make sure everybody understands and kind of gives an overall feedback to us as well. So thank you again for partnering with us and we're providing the Fotokite. And if there's anything else, Jace, I think we're good. All right. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.